With Snowfall Season 5 coming up on February 23rd, I've planned an entire schedule of weekly breakdowns from now, Season 1, all the way to a Season 5 prediction video the week before the season premiere. So just as I promised, this is a complete Season 1 breakdown, and I've done the Season 4 breakdown already. If you haven't seen it, it'll be linked above and below. Real quick before we hop into the video, I am on the road to a huge goal of 15,000 subscribers in 2022. And I cannot make it there without your help. So hit the subscribe button, share this video, and leave a comment down below so I can feature your comment in next week's breakdown. So without further ado, episode 1 is the pilot. And most pilot episodes have a few main objectives. 1, introduce the characters and the world that they live in. Number 2, create a problem or interest, which is the premise. And number 3, grab the audience attention. Snowfall does a masterful job at all three. If you haven't watched Season 1 in like 5 years, just like me, please go back and watch that season and the rest of the seasons after this week's breakdown. Season 1, and especially episode 1, is primarily all about character development because the writers first had to establish a foundation for these characters and then they built upon those foundations. And I'm telling you, the way that they have built and done character development throughout this show is absolutely phenomenal, but we have to first start with the groundworks. Season 1. So that's primarily what I'm going to discuss is the character introduction this year in Season 1 and their evolution. Now, the season premieres opens up with the ice cream man driving through the hood. These kids steal some candy, and that's how we are first introduced to Franklin. The first time a character is introduced on camera is so critical for a series or a movie that you're watching. It establishes a character's mentality, personality, and in this case, their importance to the environment.
I'll beat that ass.
Ease up, Playboy. You got your 50 cents of shit back. You're welcome.
You can tell right away that Franklin is a stand-up young man and well-respected in the neighborhood, just from this opening scene. And we are also introduced to the friendship dynamic of Franklin, Leon, and Kevin. This opening scene is short, but how it starts is exactly how it ends. But more on that later. Look at this Snowfall logo as it is lightly covered in cocaine. As the season progresses, the logo also evolves. We are also introduced to Oso or Gustavos, whichever you prefer, as an enforcer, a strong man willing to get knocked down but always get up, especially for the money and the respect. We see Franklin here laughing, having a good time. The amount of character growth we see from him in this show is unbelievable. Immediately after the match, we are introduced to Pedro, who portrays himself as this tough guy, but is he really though? And also Lucia, the quiet about business type. Next up, we're introduced to Alejandro and his reckless behavior. And the choices that he made right here early on is exactly what really changes the course of events for everyone in the show. Then we have Teddy, or Reed, living a meaningless, unfulfilled life, dying for a second chance, which is exactly why he immediately jumps at this wild opportunity. Next up, we have Jerome and Louie. Jerome is the OG in the hood with street knowledge and respect. Louie is high on sherms, but you can tell she's hard. She's a real street chick with loyalty and brains. You'll see that part a little bit later. Next up is Franklin's mom, Sissy, who is a loving and kind lady, willing to do whatever it takes to keep her life in order and protect her son. Then we're introduced to Mel, the obvious love interest and the literal girl next door. And then also, of course, her overbearing father, who's a police officer in the neighborhood. Next, we have Rob, Franklin's wild white friend on the other side of Franklin's life. Rob is down for anything. Then there's Avi, the crazy, eccentric drug connect who is wise in the drug world, but compromised by the drugs. Then we have Claudia, a self-made black woman in the hood with power and respect, which she uses to leverage to get whatever she wants. And then we kind of get a glimpse of Franklin's dad here, and we can just see that he's a homeless man, which if you freeze frame it right here, that's not actually his dad. Pilot episodes typically don't have the full cast or the full budget, but it's interesting that this is not really his dad. Now that we have character introductions out of the way, we can get to all the Easter eggs. First thing I think about is a Jay-Z lyric from Can I Live? This one line encompasses the entire season for me, for all parties involved. Jay-Z said, "Lock my body, can't trap my mind." Easily explains why we adapt to crime. I'd rather die enormous than live dormant, that's how we own it. That's the mentality of every single person who decides to sell drugs on this show. They want more out of life than they currently have, and this drug provides that way. This entire season teaches you a lot about Franklin, and he has a lot of interesting interactions with people. With Oso, he is a fan and very childlike. We don't see that at all from Franklin moving forward.
I think I could get an autograph or something.
Easily impressed, huh, kid?
With Jerome, he's young, reliable, little homie. With his mom, he's a smart, well-to-do kid. With Leon, he's clearly the leader. With Avi, he's brave and he's bold. He carries all of these characteristics throughout the season. Most of all, he is smart and a brilliant talker and a business-minded individual. You see that the most when he's speaking to Claudia.
But you're right, Claudia, I am desperate. So the way I figure it break down like this: buy this key, and I will bring you another one tomorrow and another one the day after that if you want.
Claudia. So here's an interesting detail that I noticed about Franklin's backpack. Throughout season 1, he has this green backpack with him. And what I realized is anytime he has just one strap over his right shoulder, he is absolutely calm, he's in his comfort zone, and he's confident. When he switches it over to his left shoulder, he is defeated and beat down. And when he has it on both of his shoulders, he is being overly protective of the content of the bag. Here they have a Dutch camera angle where the camera is kind of rotating back and forth. And what that angle does is it signifies to the audience unease, a little worry. And this entire scene with Claudia is shot in a Dutch camera angle, and it allows you as the viewer to feel the unease that Louis and Franklin are feeling. And then to close out the episode, the soundtrack to this freaking show is so phenomenal because the soundtrack oftentimes is narrating the show for us. So here at the end of the episode, we see Oso, Franklin, and Reed all moving around to Nina Simone's Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. And I would love to argue the fact that they all are just good souls whose intentions are good. They just may be misunderstood by the masses. All three parties are doing what they think is right for their particular situation. Episode 2, Make Them Birds Fly. Birds referring to the bricks of cocaine that Reed, Gustavos, and Franklin are now moving. See here that Franklin has the backpack on both shoulders to protect that money. Teddy is untrusting and very controlling of every single detail, which is mad annoying, but it ultimately is his saving grace. You can see here that Gustavos is not just a pushover meathead. He is about his money and he's smart. Franklin earns Avi's trust and respect twice over with the money and saving his friend's life. Franklin is learning on the fly and from his mistakes because the Franklin we know today would never make these mistakes. And the reason why he would never make these mistakes is because he learned. He really learned from all the mistakes that he made in the earlier season. The Franklin that we know today that's so well calculated, timed out, and many chess moves ahead of all of his opponents, got it from all of these mistakes that the younger Franklin made.
He ain't killing him. He giving it to him.
This moment right here has always baffled me. Why? Why did they think they could get away with this? They should have known that they could not leave this man in that state of mind and that he wasn't going to come back and retaliate. They should have killed him. Here, Gustavos makes sure that Pedro and Lucia get their hands dirty so that everybody can feel the same exact type of guilt and that they have the same exact type of buy-in as he does. At the end of this episode, Franklin goes to Jerome to get a gun. I think that Franklin thought that he would be able to pull the trigger, and then when it really came down to it, he learned something new about himself. Episode 4, Trauma. Everyone is dealing with trauma from the things that they have had to do or the things that they've experienced in the last couple days. Teddy is in the jungle with Alejandro, and this is where we learn that Teddy is really like a lie detector. Franklin just doesn't have the heart to pull the trigger here. He has more of a conscience. Leon is a street dude. He knows what needs to be done, and he has the heart to do it. Franklin always just thinks that there's a different way. He doesn't have that in him early on. And here at the end of the episode, Franklin has gone through so much in just a few days that he's had the drugs that he's like, I can't take this anymore, man. I'm out. I'm out of the game.
I'm good.
What?
I'm out.
Episode 5, 7-4. 7-4 is referring to the 4th of July, and it's been about a month since Franklin and everyone else has gotten to the drug game. This episode opens up with Teddy and Alejandro stranded in a Mexican desert, and you can interpret this visual as them being surrounded by cocaine, consumed by it, and it's slowly taking over their lives. But it leaves some glimpse of hope. Here we start to get more information on Franklin's dad and his past back in Oakland with the Panther Party, and this is foreshadowing for the future. This is our real first look at Franklin's actual dad. Franklin goes and bails him out to do things right. He was trying to think about like how can he get his life on the right path and how can he start making better decisions. His dad shows up to the party and Franklin and him go back and forth.
I don't need to hear you sorry. I don't need to hear any of this shit.
Sorry? What the fuck I got to be sorry about? It's all I've ever done. All I've ever wanted to do was be my own man. And I couldn't be ashamed of that if I wanted to.
I got news for you. What you are ain't a fucking man.
Okay, and you would know that it... Shit.
It's such an intense argument between the two of them, and what I think that this argument reveals the most is they are both stubborn, they are both self-made, and they are both prideful individuals. It's a lot of similarities in Franklin and his dad, just one chose the bottle and one chose the drug game. I really believe that this is why Franklin doesn't smoke or drink or do drugs, period, because he watched the path that his father went down and he never wanted to be like that. He always wanted to be better and do better. And then at the end of the episode, after getting choked out, after his father abandoned him, he watched his father leave him, getting choked out by the police, and he had to recover from that. Just seeing the environment that he lives in, just getting frustrated and angry with his situation, he's back in the game.
So we don't have to take the bus to Harvey's.
Game. Episode 6, a long time coming. Everyone is now getting closer to their goals in this drug game. They've all had their hiccups and very similar hiccups, but now they're making it work for them. Now we see for the very first time Teddy's paranoid state is confirmed.
Bitch ass niggas out here 3 for 1. Out here slipping.
Hey, you sure you want to take it there?
This is the first time here that we can really tell that Ray Ray is scary and he's not about that life like they said before. Here, Kevin and Leon trying coke for the very first time. This is a bad sign. This is really foreshadowing for things to come, and it's a bad decision to have anybody in your organization doing the drugs that they're supposed to sell. Jerome has 3 rules as to why he's not selling cocaine.
About 18 months ago, some niggas jacked this Mexican diesel truck full of cocaine. Before that, we were somewhat all right with the Mexicans.
A lot of people got tapped behind that situation.
And that's the first reason I don't fuck with no yayo. Rule number 2, because it ain't no wins. Them pigs, they ready to put you in the clink, and they will. Now, rule number 3, you gotta sell to white folk in places where you gonna stick out, target on your back.
That's right.
There's gotta be a way I could do this without ending up dead or in jail.
Franklin doesn't see this as a major issue. He just sees it as 3 objections, and that if he can overcome those 3 objections, then he can have Jerome. He need him. His guidance, his leadership, he needs that. So he figures if he can overcome these 3 objections, then he can have Jerome as a partner. Here, the encounter that Franklin had early on in episode 1 with Oso saves his life here because Gustavo saves Franklin from the Mexicans. Here, Alejandro confirms that he killed those girls, and I think it was at this point that Reed knew he no longer could be a partner with him. Not because he killed them, but because he lied about it. Episode 7, cracking. Everybody's getting it cracking. Lucia and Gustavo's business is cracking, and Franklin actually learns to make crack. Lucia and Gustavo's have sex, which you can see the sexual tension building up between the two of them for quite a while because he saved her life on several occasions. She sees him as a protector. She sees him as a partner. And this made Pedro feel very betrayed, which ultimately made him feel safe and comfortable with coming clean to his father. Alejandro finally comes clean with Teddy, but I think at this point it's just too late. Teddy is now thinking in his head, how can he get himself from underneath this partnership but continue to still run the business smoothly without anything seeming suspicious?
I thought you'd been to Oakland before.
Once, way back when.
See, Franklin's been to Oakland once before. This is just clear foreshadowing. Isn't it crazy how his father got his start here in this Oakland Panther Party movement office? That's where his father became a man, an individual, and where he started making decisions for himself to alter his life forever. And that's the exact spot where Franklin becomes a man, finds out this crack thing, and it's just symbolism on how they both kind of got their start in the same exact spot. It's a beautiful metaphor. Franklin goes on to learn how to make crack from RZA. Episode 8, Baby Teeth. Baby teeth is what crack was called back in the day in the hood. Kevin's trying crack was a terrible decision, bro. Like, see, these are things that Franklin just would never allow today. But this also shows Kevin weak-minded and poor decision making. See, now that they've got to the crack, they actually making crack, they lighting that crack on fire. The Snowfall logo is now a burning logo. This is a great business decision by Franklin to create a whole batch of crack and just give it out. Free samples for everybody in the hood because he saw it. He saw once they get hooked, they can always keep coming back and that the money was gonna start rolling in. This early turmoil and fighting between Franklin and Leon is just them learning on the fly. Like, everybody's just trying to figure this thing out and figure out their place in this game. This trick at the house right here shows just how clever and resourceful Reed can be, especially on a short amount of time. Like, this is a brilliant trick, and he continues to do things just like that. Then at the end of the episode, we see Leon being shot. Like, the cost of doing drugs just early on for Franklin is just so costly, and he has to learn how to protect himself and the people around him immediately, or everybody's gonna get killed. Episode 9, Story of the Scar. This could be referring to the scar that Franklin got now from being pistol whipped, the scar that Gustavo's got, freaking Teddy got scars, and Leon has been shot. So everybody is getting scars. You can see right here, now Franklin's starting to watch his back. He's starting to get a little bit more alert. He's on edge. We can see clear as day now Teddy's distrust for any and everybody at this point. He is always now covering his bases because he doesn't trust anybody. Franklin knows that he has to get payback for Leon to show his loyalty, but also to prove that he's not weak in these streets. Jerome and Louie now see the full potential that this drug can do for them, because it's not like marijuana. Everybody is coming back and coming back and coming back, so they're able to quadruple their money like within no time. Now Lucia and Gustavo's plan to set up her family so she can take full control of this organization. Franklin promises Louis that he's gonna get her that club, and we know that that's exactly what happens in season 2. Now Franklin and Ray Ray get a chance to sit down. This is where Franklin is best, when he's able to sit down and have a rational conversation with somebody and try to appeal to their common sense, their morality, or their business acumen. Episode 10, Rubicon, which means winning against your opponent. That's exactly what episode 10 is all about. We can see Franklin, Louis, Jerome sitting here looking at all the money that they've made, the short-term success that they've had, and plotting on exactly how they plan on building up this empire. Teddy finally had to pull the trigger, like literally and metaphorically. He had to get rid of Alejandro so that way he can operate relatively worry-free, knowing that everybody that he's doing business with, he can now trust them. Listen to exactly what Lucia's mother tells her.
Tu papá no pensaba menos de ti por ser mujer, ni tampoco pensaba que eres débil. Es que él temía que tu ambición le podría hacer mucho, mucho daño a esta familia.
This is straight facts. That's exactly the problem with Lucia. She wants too much power. Just like I said earlier in this video, this season starts the exact same way it ends.
Never ride through my block without stopping, all right? These kids, they want something, anything. You serve them up, and I'll take care of you after. Cool?
Yeah.
With the ice cream man coming into the neighborhood, the kids not having the money, but this time, Franklin got it. He took care of the ice cream man before, and he's taking care of him and the kids now. He tells him, I got this, bro. That just shows you the growth and the transformation of Franklin. Franklin has always been the man in the hood, but now he's the man in the hood with the money. And he can actually start to make some change and impact. And Lucia's setup on the entire family works exactly how she wants it to work. And now we got Franklin and his family starting their empire, and we'll see what that brings us next week on the season 2 breakdown. Now, next week will be full of Easter eggs and full of breakdowns because season 1 was just strictly about character building and character development. So, thank you guys for watching this week's episode of Culture Breakdown, and be sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell notification if you're still here. And until next time, man, I'm out.